So I get an email from the Minnesota Twins. I'm a season ticket holder that tells me the Savannah Bananas are coming to Target Field next year. I go home, I tell my wife, and she goes, "Oh, those tickets are worth a lot of money. Are you going to get some as a season ticket holder? I entered the raffle. I hope I get some too." And she told me you could flip them for easy, double, triple the money. And I was like, why don't we just enter every raffle? And it got me thinking, what are some other obvious arbitrage opportunities that maybe we're too lazy to go do? All right, John, have you heard of the Savannah Bananas?
I have not heard of the Savannah Bananas, although I love the way your the accent rolls that one off. The American accent sounds lovely.
Uh-oh.
But, no, I got nothing on this one. I'm out. You're gonna have to tell me about it.
All right, I'm going to share the window here. First off, is it the Savannah or the banana that sounds funny to you?
Banana. It's bananas. Yeah, I love the way you guys say banana.
Okay. All right. The Savannah Bananas are they play banana ball. And so I don't even know how to describe this. It's not baseball. It's something more entertaining than baseball. They pack stadiums. I'm sure you can go look into this. Here's some of the, our game and players. We play banana ball, the fastest and most entertaining game of baseball. Our players perform choreographed dances every game. Taylor Swift, Morgan Wallen, Mariah Carey, you name it, they've danced to it. Every game we have a 3-2-2, which stands for a third inning, second batter, second pitch. These are unique in-game pre-pitch dances that have combined together for over hundreds of millions of views on TikTok. They have a cult following here in the U.S. Again, some people would tell you baseball is boring. To those people, I would say, fuck you. You don't understand what is great about baseball.
You're speaking to one of these people. I mean, I'll admit, I watched a little bit of the last few World Series games, Dodgers and the Blue Jays. They were entertaining. I'll give it that. That was a cool, well, I think as a fan of neither team, it was good to watch, got pretty close there. And so that was entertaining, but ordinarily, yeah, baseball needs some jazzing up, man. I mean, fuck me.
But the in-game experience, I think, is good. This obviously takes it a step further. They're not televising these, right? But I enjoy going to Target Field. You came, we brought all of our students there at one of our events as like our nightly activity. You and I went there as well to a game. We brought our families to a game. And I like the ballpark experience, but these guys have taken it a few steps further, right? It's not even one step further, a few steps further. So I think what stands out to me with this one is they can resale for 4-5 times as much, which is crazy. And they always sell out. Every stadium they're in, they sell out, which is absolutely bananas to me. Sometimes they'll do multiple games in a city. And so why wouldn't you find out where they're going, find out when the raffle is, and enter every raffle for every single city, win what you can, flip them. And to me, there's like zero downside here other than someone listening to this is definitely thinking you're a fucking asshole for doing that. But they're going to say that to every one of these, I promise you.
Yeah. So there's a raffle to get tickets to go and see them.
Correct, yeah.
Because they sell out so far in advance. Right. Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah, it feels like you could set up a bot for this, right? Like to go monitor where they're going to do raffles and when they're going to do raffles. I know there's someone listening who's like, you're an asshole, right? Like, I don't know if this is a thing in Australia, but when you go to a game anywhere in America, there's people standing out front who are scalping tickets, right? And they're playing the arbitrage game. They bought the tickets for cheaper. They're selling them for more. They're definitely ripping you off. They also have a sign up that says, we buy tickets, because they know someone showed up and their buddy couldn't come, and they'll buy that extra ticket off you for $10 and they'll sell it to somebody else for $20. And so like this game has been around for a very long time, specifically in sporting events. And so I don't see an issue here. And I was curious if we've kind of done an Where's Your Ethical Bar podcast before, but like, how do you feel about these things?
It's a tough one. I'm probably somewhere in the middle in that I think if you're using technology to do it, you'd worked out some bot way to get first in line and kind of just like gobble up a whole bunch of stuff before anybody has an opportunity to. I think that bit's kind of scummy because like the average person doesn't have access or even know how that works. And you could say, well, maybe they should get smart and work it out and blah, blah, blah. And like, yeah, sure. The other side of it will obviously be people would say, well, if people are willing to pay, then, there's a market for it and the market should win, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean?
You should move over here, buddy.
That's probably your, that's what you can tell I've heard Ben say that before.
America, baby, come on.
Look, I get where people get upset with this sort of stuff completely. There's people who want to see stuff as well who don't have much money, and so they might not even buy whatever you're reselling them for. If you're reselling them for 3 or 4 times, the original price, people might just miss out just simply because they don't have enough money. And once again, you could flip that around and say, well, go and make some more money. Like, I mean, you know, there's a counter argument to every argument here, I suppose, for sure, which is kind of why I think I sit on the middle. I'm not sure.
Before I go to the next one, I'll throw some simpler ones at you that you've probably seen, right? Personal experience, garage sales. I'm a big fan of Gary Vee. He does his own little segment on garage sales. My very first thing I ever did to make money online, well, let's be real. The first one was on the button fight gear. I was going to be this cool guy sponsoring fighters. That didn't work out. But the next one I did was I went to garage sales and I just like pulled out the eBay app, pulled out the Amazon app, scanned things at garage sales and tried to figure out how I could flip stuff. I mean, it's just arbitrage, right? Somebody who's selling it at the garage sale doesn't know any better. I knew a guy who sold bedding from Walmart on Amazon. And simply listed it on Amazon and waited till it was ready and drop shipped it from Walmart. Facebook Marketplace to eBay is another one, right? You can find something local, put it on eBay. If it sells, great, go get it on Marketplace and ship it to them, or vice versa. Shannon, who was on the show a while back, he kind of showed us how to do this by buying, you know, pallets and things like that. That's an arbitrage opportunity as well. In NFT land, this happens all the time, right? There's an asking price, right? And then there's the people, a bid price, if you will, right? And so if you need liquidity now, they'll pay you a little less, kind of like these scalpers, buy it from you and list it at the floor price and wait for the NFT to sell. And so there's no shortage of arbitrage in this world, right? So I don't know. It's hard for me to look at any one of these, and we're going to go into a few more that it is what I don't know. You definitely parroted me pretty well there, John. And the market's the market.
Yeah, and look, and I get all of those opportunities, and obviously, like I don't have any problem with going to a garage sale and find something that somebody's underpriced because either they don't give a shit or they just didn't do any research or whatever, and then you pick it up at a steal and then you go and flip it somewhere else. Obviously, I don't have a problem with that. I guess the bit that I'm on the fence of is like, if you could use technology, and obviously some of the ticket retailers probably have counter technology in place to stop you using technology to buy up a massive pool of tickets immediately. Like, that's not the person who created the ticket creating scarcity. That's you gaming the system to create scarcity and deny other people an opportunity to participate, and then charging them more because you denied them an opportunity to participate. I mean, that's the kind of, I guess, if you like, the ethical or the moral bit to it that I guess I don't like. Whereas if like a brand makes 100 of a product, that was the brand's original decision to make that, and that's what it was always going to be. And like, you know what I mean? I don't know. There's just something that feels a little extra bit of ick factor about this one compared to like garage sale flipping or something like that, right?
Well, it only gets worse from here, John. Let's move on to the next one that is also gross. Taylor Swift does the same sort of thing. Her concerts sell out everywhere. Everyone wants a Taylor Swift ticket, and they're $200 face value on the ticket, somewhere around there, right? And they're reselling for $1,000, sometimes $2,000. And so what stops you, again, from just getting in line? Like, you can see her tour dates. You know when they go on sale. What stops you from getting online, especially if you like, you know, I'm at my desk all day. Why wouldn't I have a window over here where I'm trying to get in, try to flip everything I get? You know, I'm going to land some of these, right? And I don't think Taylor Swift is alone in this. There's probably many other artists who are that big. Taylor Swift is the first one that came to mind for me because I've seen this done before. I know people who actually do this arbitrage.
Yep.
Does it feel as icky?
Look, I guess it depends on, I don't know.
I think I finally stumped John, folks.
Hey, John here for just a sec. You know how we're always breaking down these wild business ideas and road testing opportunities that other podcasts won't touch? Well, we're growing our own business here. This podcast, and we need your help. So here's the deal. If the Low Bar podcast has given you that holy shit I can actually do this moment, or just made your commute less boring, help us out. If you're watching on YouTube, go and hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on Spotify, go to our profile page on Spotify and smash that 5-star button. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, hit the review button and leave us a review. It takes you just 30 seconds, costs you nothing, but helps us reach more people who think starting a business is rocket science, which it's not. And it will also give us the momentum we need to do even more fun and crazy business stuff right here for your entertainment. We love to keep it real with you. Now keep it real with us. Let's grow this thing together. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I suppose, like with this one, you're probably, like, it's not like you're going to line up for a Taylor Swift concert and they're going to sell you 100 tickets. Right, like a big company like Ticketek, you just can't do that. Like, you can't purchase that many tickets at once. I'm pretty sure, at least. And so, you know, if you're lining up, you're buying a few tickets, whatever. You know, there's obviously lots of other tickets, and then you wait until all the tickets are sold, obviously, because that's when the price of your resales are going to go up when there's none available, right? Then you can go out and say, well, I've got 800 to 2,000 on it. It was 200 originally. Like, I don't have it's not the markup I would have an issue with, right? Because as you say, like, I believe if somebody wants to pay that for it, like, that's a choice, right? And somebody could choose and say, well, you're telling me it's 800. All right, fuck you. I'll give you 300. Take it or leave it. Because at the end of the day, you as the seller, if you can't sell it to somebody at 800, you are going to sell it to me at 300. If I want to wait you out on that, right? Maybe you will sell it to somebody for 800. So, like, it's not the markup that I would have a problem with. I guess for me, it's more of a moral thing. Like, I mean, I don't give a shit about Taylor Swift. I wouldn't want to deny somebody who loves Taylor Swift, even though I think they're probably not right in the head, an opportunity to go and see her just so I can make $1. You know what I mean? For me, that'd probably be the thing. Would I have a problem with selling you an $800 ticket that originally sold for $200? No. It's your choice to pay it. You don't have to pay it.
All my kids love Taylor Swift. They are very offended right now that you don't. I'm shocked that's not something sung in your family vehicle as well. It's very sing-alongy.
One of my kids loves Taylor Swift for sure. That's fine. I don't.
Unfortunately, I could sing a few songs, and I'm not a fan myself, but I definitely know the words. I think I would have no issue doing this one. I wonder if there is enough artists that are of a big enough size for you to do this sustainably. Like, Taylor's huge, right? This is not a new idea. I know people doing it. I'm sure there's other people doing it. You know, she's A+ tier, right? Is there, what are they, S tier or whatever they call it, right? You know, are there B level and C level artists out there who do sell out, but they don't sell out, you know, like crazily? I just don't know how big this opportunity is beyond Taylor.
It would be about the margin, right? I mean, I'm sure there's people who do smaller shows that do sell out. There are enough demand that there'd be somebody who would want to pay over to go and see them late in the piece. Maybe not so desperate that they're going to spend thousands, right? So it might be a question of margins and what's actually worth it for you. Like, if you bought a ticket for $100 for somebody, they sell out, and then you're selling it, rather than selling it for $500, you can get $200 for it. Because, like, they're not crazy fans, but they've got the money and they want to go and see the thing. And so I would imagine there probably are a lot of those things. You know, there would be festival tickets as well, like music festival tickets. Music festivals sell out. It's not one artist, but, like, it's a great festival and people want to go to the festival. You could probably, I imagine that would happen. I mean, there's probably somebody out there who does this. Like, if you're listening to the podcast and you do this, like, get in touch with us. I'd love to hear about how you do it and whether this actually is a worthwhile thing that people do, and like, you can do it across a lot of different events, or whether you just do it on some specifically. Like, we'd love to have a chat.
I found a few, like I said, and I'm sure we're not even scratching the surface on, like you said, the event side of this. Look, I'll throw another one in there real quick on the ticket side of things. Again, being a season ticket holder for the Twins. Now, we don't make the playoffs very much, which is unfortunate, but when we do, I get first access to strips. So here's the downside. You have to buy the whole postseason. And not even like, oh, they were the 6th seed, so they're not going to have that many home games. You already know this. If they were the 1 seed, they would have this many home games package, like or even if they were the 3 seed, like they could have all of these. So you have to buy a ticket to every single one. They call it a strip, but you can buy as many strips as you want. And so I bought my seats, right, because I want to sit in my seats. But then I bought some, like, you know, really nice placements around the stadium. The downside was I had to pay in front for every game that I knew we weren't making the World Series, but I knew there'd at least be 2, 3, 4 games that we would get at home. But I sold all those, right? And then the extra downside was, unless you specifically asked, they roll over all of that cost in next year's season ticket package. So it wasn't like I could even get my cash back out of there, although I did make it happen.
Interesting. That's weird.
But I don't mind this front running stuff. I genuinely don't mind it. And I think actually there's a case for NFTs here, right? Specifically in music. It was actually one of the things that sold me on NFTs early. The beauty of an NFT is it is non-fungible, right? So you can sell 200 tickets to your concert. All 200 are different tickets. And then the artist is going to see some upside. So if we were doing this, if I bought a Taylor Swift ticket for 200 and I sold it for 2,000, Taylor got a chunk of the 200 and probably a small chunk, right? And I'm getting all of that upside reselling it. So what she should do, and I'm positive some people who are tight with Taylor probably do, is they get a handful of tickets and they make some cash off this. But I'm not making any claims here. I don't know. Allegedly, maybe that happens. But if you use it as an NFT, you can put a royalty on there, right? So she sells them for $200. I get an NFT. Maybe I got 3 of them. I'm going to flip them. I flip them for $5,000 and she gets 10% of that, right? So she gets 500 more when I sell them, and I sold them to somebody, and now they might sell them again, and she would get a royalty if they sold them again, and so on and so on and so on. And so I actually think there's a case here for that. I wonder when I don't know what it is in Australia for you, John, but it's like Ticketmaster over here, and there's definitely a monopoly on this stuff over here. And so when does that go away? And if anyone's going to do it, it's probably Taylor, right? She bought her own music rights back, and kind of started her own thing. And so somebody that big is going to have to make a move like that first, but it feels inevitable.
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting. I mean, that would be a cool element to it for sure. If somebody went back to the artist from doing that, for sure. I mean, sounds like a perfectly good use case.
Does that make it feel like they're encouraging it though?
I guess sitting with it a bit longer. Like I don't really have a problem with this.
I like it. All right.
I think I'm moving back to the side of, I don't know if it's something I would bother doing. Once again, in the long list of many different ideas that we churn up, I don't think it would be at my top for sure, but I think I have less of a problem with it. I don't actually think the problem of people bot scraping up tickets for every show kind of thing is actually a problem. I mean, I'm sure it happens in some ways, but I don't think it's that big a problem. I always say if somebody's prepared to give you money for something, you should take it.
I don't plan on going to see the Savannah Bananas at Target Field, so you can bet your ass I'm buying my tickets and I'm flipping them 100%. I'll report back here on what I actually made on that. Who knows if they uncap how many I can buy? I'm probably going to buy more than just my 2 seats that I have. So most nights, my brain won't shut off. I'm lying there chasing new ideas, diving down rabbit holes, thinking through business problems, all of it. I can't turn it off, and honestly, I don't even want to. I fucking love this stuff. But I do need solid sleep if I'm going to show up as the best version of myself for my wife, for my kids, for my business partners, and for me. So every night I take Kill Switch from Switch Supplements. I've been taking it for years. I take a scoop, I watch a quick YouTube video, and within a half an hour, I'm out. It works every single time. My wife takes it. My employee takes it. We even gave it out at a couple of our live events and everyone loved it. If you're the same way, you can't turn it off, but you still want to win big the next day, go to switchsupplements.com/lowbar and use the code lowbar to get $10 off your first order. That's switchsupplements.com/lowbar and use the code lowbar. Sleep like you're dead. Let me go a different direction. So I was working on this episode, and our employee, Ben is his name as well, was about to leave. And he's like, hey, I'll see you tomorrow. Hey, what are you working on? And so I told him, hey, I'm working on this. Can you think of any other examples in your life? And he shared with me a guy named Bruzel. And so I got to ask, I know the answer is no. Have you heard of Bruzel, John?
I hadn't heard of Bruzel. Seeing how the name's spelt, I'm pretty sure I can guess what this is about, that it's probably related to alcohol. But I've never checked out Bruzel before.
All right, here you go. This is his YouTube. He's, grizzled guy. I won't play any sound right now, but he talks exactly how he looks. We'll say that. Actually enjoyable to watch. I ended up watching him for an hour and a half that day after Ben had left, and I was just watching his stuff. It was very entertaining. So he's got, 812,000 subscribers. He's got 1,000 videos.
I like this guy. I like this guy already. I read his description on his YouTube channel. I'm the world's worst bartender, most unhelpful whiskey reviewer, and least serious bourbon enthusiast, as selected by my comment section. I got feels for that, man. I got feels for this guy. As soon as you start posting content on anything, every dickhead says you don't know anything about it and you're an idiot and blah blah blah. He's owning that. I like it. I'm there for you, Bruzel.
Well, he's got 417 million views. That's absolutely wild. So he's doing all sorts of stuff, right? So you can see some of these videos. He's going around the country and hunting for bourbon, going to different liquor stores, talking about rare cases he's found. But more importantly, to back to this show, he's going to these things called bourbon drops. So first off, I haven't drank since 2009. I don't know if I was a bourbon guy or not. To be honest, is bourbon whiskey? I'm not even sure anymore. But I didn't know that there was bourbon drops. A lot has changed in the alcohol industry since BK stopped drinking. There was Budweiser and Bud Light and Mick Golden Light, which is a very Midwest thing, and Coors Light, and that's it for beers when I stopped drinking. And now there are beers upon beers upon beers and breweries everywhere. And I assume the same thing has happened in hard liquor or spirits or whatever you want to call them. But he's doing bourbon drops. And so when I think drops, I'm thinking in what, sneakers, clothing,
sure.
things like that. I'm not thinking bourbon, right? And so that's kind of crazy. I ended up watching a few videos of bourbon drops, and he's going there. He's creating a YouTube video out of the whole thing. He's creating content out of it. He's getting his tickets. They're having him there because he's a big voice, right? So he's kind of like the voice of the thing as well, kind of like what we saw with Casino King doing meetups at casinos. But he's also got a raffle ticket, and he ends up winning a cool bottle, and then he like talks to everyone else who won their bottle and just kind of talks through this. And so
so what's he doing? He's picking up like limited stuff and then selling it?
Yeah, allegedly, people are driving and flying across the country for these drops, right? So the one I watched, I believe, had like 2,000 people at it, which is crazy. Apparently, people are really into this, and you know, is he flipping them? That I don't know, but it's clear that you could be flipping them. You could be getting these rare bottles. By the sounds of it, it sounds like he's enjoying these rare bottles. But for sure, you could see, you know, you're getting one of these, you're winning one, or you're paying $20 or $40 or $50, whatever it is, $200. And you could flip them for 2,000 plus, right? Depending on the bottle. Again, I don't know anything about bourbon. I'm sure someone's watching this just screaming right now and being like, BK, bourbon's not even whiskey, you moron. I have no idea. But the rare bottles he was discussing in the video I watched were easily 10Xs.
Okay, so I can add a bit onto this because I've actually done this. Not in exactly the same way. So I'm like BK in that I don't drink at the moment, as some people will know. But I stopped drinking more recently than BK. Before then, I used to be big into Scotch whiskey. So not bourbon, although I didn't mind bourbon as well, and I have some still. And so I was big into Scotch whiskey and buying up, once again, kind of limited editions, right? And so I was a member of some clubs. There's actually clubs you can be a part of, and they use basically bulk buying power to go to the big distilleries in like Scotland and Ireland and places like that and get a batch, especially for them. And then they'll give you a good price on that because you're part of the club, right? And because it's a batch and usually limited release, the bigger these clubs get, the more they can lean on the distilleries and say, hey, can you make us something special that you don't release in like bottle shops and places like that to the retail market? And so you end up getting these like bottles from big brand names in the space, you know, brand names that people know, like the Glenlivet, Aberlour, places like this. I'll probably butcher the pronunciations, but they're never released to retail, right? And so what I used to do is you get these releases, and oftentimes you can buy like a few of these bottles. You can get allocated, you know, there's only a certain amount they get allocated to members of these clubs, but you can usually buy extra. And so I was buying up these things, and I was drinking them at the time. This is when I was drinking, but then I stopped drinking, and I've still got all of this freaking whiskey. We've got all these bottles and stuff like that I bought for like $120 a bottle, generally speaking. It's about $120, $130 a bottle. It's really nice stuff too if you're actually drinking it. But they're limited. And so there's a lot of people out there in the world who aren't members of these clubs who hear about this stuff and are like, hey, I want to get a bottle of that. But they can't just go and buy it because whiskey collecting is a thing, right? It's a thing people do, as well as drinking it. And so there are like platforms like for a whiskey where you can like list bottles of whiskey for sale, kind of like marketplaces. Do you know what I mean? For selling, I wouldn't say secondhand because you're selling them unopened, but like secondhand bottles of whiskey and, you know, auction processes, all of that sort of stuff. Like people bid for them and you can set a reserve and, you know, all of that sort of thing. You know what I'm talking about, kind of like eBay. And so I go on there. I did this recently, actually. I think after we were talking about, it might have actually been after we chatted with Shannon about his pallet flipping, essentially, liquidation pallets and stuff like that. I was like, oh, I know I've got all of this whiskey sitting around. I should go and start looking at how much it's worth, right? Because I had heard some time ago that people were starting to sell some of the bottles I had for like 5 to 7 times the original price I paid. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go into some of these platforms and go and search for the bottle that I've got and the brand and all of that sort of thing, see if any have sold recently. And lo and behold, I'm looking on there and I'm seeing bottles that I paid $120 for. People are buying them for like $700 a bottle, like 5 to 7x the original price I paid. So I'm literally going to sell some of mine just because I have zero plan to ever drink them. And like you can't even get them via the whiskey clubs anymore. And so there's even people who were part of the whiskey club originally who buy the whiskey to drink it, not keep it. And they find out, oh, I really love that bottle. They can't get it in a retail store because it's never been sold there. So the only opportunity they have to get that again, if they really want it, is to find somebody who's still got a bottle that they kept and buy it off them. And so once again, you can kind of set your price in those scenarios. And so I get this one. This is definitely a thing. Like reselling, like picking up limited edition or limited drop or whatever, booze and reselling it. You can definitely make money doing this for sure.
I've recently been binge watching Sopranos. That's kind of been the thing I've been watching now that baseball's over. Great fucking show, by the way. Lives up to the hype for sure. But immediately my brain goes to, well, what would Tony Soprano do here? I don't know why it's going there lately, but that's where it's been going a lot. And I think, what stops you from like building a relationship with the local liquor store owner? Maybe you don't need to build one Tony Soprano style and, let him know you'll break his kneecaps if he doesn't do this. But what stops someone from building that relationship and just saying, you're going to get allocated a few of these bottles. Maybe you got allocated one or two less, and maybe I can give you 20% of what we can turn this into or something like that. I assume that's happening around the world, but is that too far also? Is that past the ethical bar?
Nah, I'm okay with this one. I'm okay with it. I'm gonna sell some of these bottles myself, and I'll put that on my list. You're gonna report back on Savannah Bananas. I'll sell some of these bottles, see what I can flip them for. And I'll report back here. In fact, we talked about at some point doing a low bar podcast arbitrage challenge and challenging people to come up with their best flips or their best arbitrage. So maybe I'll enter myself with some of my alcohol when we get around to launching that one.
I just think there's so many opportunities out here, right? So if you can flip alcohol and I can flip tickets and this dude's flipping bourbon and there's a couple other on this list here. It seems like it's everywhere. And like, how do you train your what do they call that? The little thing in your brain that it only pays attention to what you tell it to pay attention to. How do you train that to spot opportunities like this? Is it just simply talking about it? Or are people going to inevitably listen to this show and then magically they're like, oh yeah, I see one over here and I see one over here. I want to be able to train my reticular activation system. That's what it is. I want to train myself to spot more opportunities like this because they're 100% in every single industry. It just seems like you have to have a little bit of knowledge, right? Like I'm sure there's some connecting factors that we can find as we go through here.
Yeah, look, I'm sure there's absolutely a framework for spotting these opportunities, even if you weren't in them. Like, I mean, obviously there has to be a scarcity element or a limited time element around the product and things like that. Like, I'm sure there is definitely a framework that you could apply and say, is this something that's likely to have, a greater resale value? So you're either looking for something that has scarcity, something that you can tell is underpriced compared to what somebody else would be willing to pay for it, aka like getting liquidation stuff, for example, and flipping that back at retail price or whatever you might do. Or like identifying companies that are in a rush to get rid of things quickly that the public still desires, right? So because they're in a rush to get rid of them quickly, aka like liquidation stuff, they need to get rid of it. You can offer them a low price for it to take it off their hands, but then there's still people out there who are willing to pay a higher price than that, like closer to what the product originally would have sold for potentially. I mean, there would be so many of these things, and I think it's kind of like once you identify one or two, I think you get used to thinking like this. It's kind of like seeing the Matrix, right? You're going to start seeing this stuff everywhere. I find it's like that when it comes to like making money for yourself, like outside of a job. Like once you do it once, then your brain opens up a little bit and you start to look at everything like, oh, can I make money with that? Can I make money with that? Can I make money with that? That's certainly what I've noticed after thinking about making money for 10 years is that you just start to you spot things. But once again, I mean, doing this is so simple. If we're talking about business is simple, like I think that there's a bit of a leap to calling it a business because a business is a system that repeats and can continue to repeat. So some of this is just like, let's just make a bit of side money. But for sure, there's probably some things like Mr. Bruzel here. Looks like he's got a pretty decent business and thing going on behind it as well.
Yeah, I like all the content on this one. We're big fans of AI, but I've heard you say before, John, on our other on the Dropship podcast, you've said AI is only this far good, right? You can't say, give me a business idea and flush out my business, but I want to start testing that on this show because AI is only going to get better and better and better. Yeah. So I literally put it up to the test for idea number 4 here. And I said, you come up with an idea. And I think this was ChatGPT. It could have been Claude. And I said, you come up with the idea. I'm just going to read it. I have no idea if any of this information is true because LLMs do like to hallucinate on occasion, but I will show you what they found. You tell me what you think, John. So this is saying you can use this app. He used the app called Appointment Trader. Restaurants like Carbone, Don Angie, For Charles Corner Store, where Taylor Swift goes, set alarms for when reservations drop. So each restaurant is different. Carbone is 7 days in advance at midnight on Resi. Don Angie is 9 a.m. daily on OpenTable as of May 2025, 7 days in advance. Use bots or apps like Table One to auto-snipe reservations as they drop. It's free to grab a reservation. You list it on Appointment Trader, and then you sell for $200 to $500 plus on top of their meal cost. So the cost to grab a reservation is zero. Resale value is $200 to $500 per reservation. Multiple hot restaurants dropping daily. The app exists specifically to help you snipe them. What do you think? LLMs gave me some more details here. They say restaurants fucking hate this. New York City tried to pass laws against it. I'm sure after, we're recording the day after Mondani got elected. I'm sure he's going to have an issue with this. But is there any different than ticket scalping? I don't have an issue with this one, John. I'm curious what you think. What do you think of grabbing reservations and then selling them to someone else who needs a last minute reservation?
This one's different, a little bit different to the tickets, I guess, because you're also getting the reservation for free. In most cases, I would assume. Like, I know some restaurants will get you to put a card on file now to get a reservation, and I guess that's potentially what they're trying to prevent here is like not only just people not showing, but also people buying reservations maybe and trying to sell them. And then, because obviously if you get a free reservation, you go out to people and say, oh, well, $200 for the reservation. They say, get fucked. I'm not paying $200 for a restaurant reservation. You're stuck with the reservation. A restaurant could try and charge you for that, right? If they got your payment details. So I think if you were a restaurant and you really hated this, you could probably find a way around it, to be honest, or a way to make it more difficult. Once again, I mean, it's a market thing though, right? Personally, would I pay $500 to get a restaurant reservation? No. But like, would somebody? Maybe. If everybody was willing to pay $500 for a restaurant reservation, kind of begs the question as to why aren't restaurants selling their restaurant reservations?
I would assume at this point they're holding some back and doing this exact method. Why wouldn't they be doing that?
Restauranting can be a tough business. Selling food's not easy. Like, it can be a tough business. It can be very low margin, all of that sort of stuff. I have some sympathy for that business model. It's definitely not something I would ever want to do, but respect to people who make it work for sure. But yeah, it would beg the question, like if there was actually enough people to make this a business, and once again, this is something that LLMs come up with, so maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but if it was, and I was a restaurant owner, I'd be like, yeah, okay, well, I can charge $200 per reservation, can I? Fine. I'm going to get me some margin here.
Well, think about the restaurant owner, right? They aren't selling the reservation. They're using OpenTable or Resi or something like that to get the reservation. So they have no control over this, right? And then they have to hope that those platforms are doing something to stop these bots, because for sure someone's using a bot to snipe them, right? And like, now you're trusting a third party to not make your restaurant look bad. 100% you're contacting them and saying, hey, allocate me a few of those, or just holding some back and putting them on there yourself, right? Somehow, right? Like, they have to be monetizing this, right? Restaurants are historically low margin, and so for them to find new margin here through reservations, I wonder how quickly this loophole is closed and just given back to the restaurant.
Yeah, I mean, that'd probably be the issue with it. Is like, if some guy goes and secures a bunch of reservations that he wants to resell, and then he can't resell them, and the restaurant's not getting any money for the reservations, then they're the ones that are left with empty tables, right? And that really hurts a restaurant, empty tables, right? Because I mean, you still bought the food, you're still paying the wait staff, all of that sort of thing, and that's shit for the restaurant. So I like, with this one, I would have a problem with it from that perspective, I guess. Like, once again, if somebody wants to pay $200 for a reservation at a restaurant, like, take their money. I would feel bad for the restaurant owner in this scenario, because they could get fucked by this in some ways, potentially. And at the end of the day as well, if people can't get reservations with a restaurant and they don't want to pay the money, you know who they're going to go and complain to? They're going to complain to the restaurant. The blowback's on the restaurant here, right? Like, ultimately they get the blame. People will leave bad reviews. Oh, this restaurant, the only way you can get a reservation here is if you pay some guy $200 for one. That's fucked. Like, that's what's going to go on TripAdvisor or any of those sort of review platforms. And once again, I mean, it's not the restaurant's fault. So I think from that perspective, it is scummier than the other plays we've talked about here for sure.
I'm hoping the restaurants have a clawback, like you said, that it's not indeed, maybe the LLM got it wrong here, that it's not zero. It's like, okay, $200 for the Resi, If you don't use it, they can claw that back, right? Which in that case, I'm sure they'd rather have a table, but they'd probably rather have $200 for doing absolutely nothing as well. They probably don't want their restaurant to look empty. That's not going to be a good thing for them. But this dude, is on average, allegedly, made $5,263 per month doing this. Sounds like something you should try to figure out. If if you're sitting at home wondering how to make money, I'd be all for it.
Oh, I can definitely see people paying for the reservation, right? Like if you think of like a really big restaurant, they can book out 6 months in advance or more, right? There's been restaurants that are booked out years in advance in the world. It's going to cost you like hundreds of dollars to eat there. Like if you're somebody who's like really desperate about being seen in the right places or about eating, like you just love food and you want to go and see like what's the hype about this restaurant or whatever. I think it's an experience. You're probably going to pay $200 to get a reservation, right? So that you don't have to wait 3 years or 12 months or 6 months or whatever. I mean, I can definitely, in those cases, I can definitely see people paying for it. It's probably more if it happens for restaurants that are not quite at that level that I think it could be a problem or more of a problem. Like for big restaurants, I could see somebody making money off this for sure. That number doesn't surprise me.
Well, for a lot of these, you don't get any feedback, right? The Savannah Bananas aren't telling you whether you should or should not do this. Taylor Swift isn't telling you. The bourbon companies aren't telling you. Maybe they are. Certainly these restaurants haven't said anything, although there's plenty of news articles here. I want to show you one last one, John, where this person is actually encouraging you. You want to fucking sell it, sell it. The market is the market. Nobody says this better than my man, Gary Vee. I love some Gary Vee. Here is his NFTs here. So the opportunity is this. You end up getting some of his new releases at a cheaper cost than what the market will get them for. And then you can roll some of those into eBay, or a lot happens on X nowadays, a lot happens on Whatnot nowadays, and take those products and flip them. So a good example would be he recently released Topps Chrome, which Topps Chrome is known for mostly baseball. It is a very high-end baseball card product. And so Gary launched a Topps Chrome VFriend set. I am an NFT holder, and so I got my boxes for $99. They were quickly reselling for $700 on the marketplace, right? I don't have it pulled up here, and maybe we can scroll down far enough to find one. But he has one of these NFTs is called a gift goat. There it is. There's a gift goat right there. For gift goat holders, you got a free box of Sapphire, Topps Chrome Sapphire, which is the high-end one, for absolutely free for being a gift goat holder. Well, just to tell you a story, I went and searched the gift goats that have been claimed or not claimed. And I found one unclaimed. And so I became a gift goat holder. It was at the floor price. I bought it. It cost me about $16,000 to buy the gift goat. I bought the gift goat, immediately went and claimed my Topps Sapphire, and I could have resold the gift goat right back for $16,000. I believe that's where it's roughly at right about now. Actually, I could click on one of these and tell you how in the red I am here. Let's find out. It's 12, so I'm down 4 here, actually. But I'm fine with that. I'm going to hold this gift goat for a little while because that Topps Sapphire resold for $8,000. I got it for absolutely free. The box, there's only 8 packs in a box, which is absolutely wild to think that a box of cards with 8 packs in it sold for $8,000. But I love Gary Vee. And here's a little story. I didn't sell it for $8,000. I had to open it. I couldn't take it anymore. I was sitting on my fridge for like 2 months and I had to open it. Did I hit the card? No, of course I didn't. I wish I would have hit something, but I hit pretty good. I love Gary Vee. But anyway, the opportunity is here, right? So the NFT is going to appreciate if you believe in what his project is, and you can flip every release. So I've gotten multiple things at this point that I've had access to, right? So you buy the Access NFT, you get every release it costs. You can flip the releases for profit. The NFT itself goes up. There's double arbitrage here. There are other NFT projects that do this, but I'm a big fan of Gary Vee. In fact, I have a whole episode planned for him that'll come out in the future here. What do you think of this opportunity? Because, and I'll just tell you this, I was watching Gary on Whatnot, and I literally said, should I hold this Sapphire or should I flip it? And his answer was like, you got to do what's best for you. If you think you should flip it and need $8,000, great, flip it. If you want to hold on to it for a while and see if the value goes up, great. He does not care. He's indifferent to the process, and he wants you to do what you should do. If you bought one of these NFTs early on and you've been a long time holder or even a new holder and you have access to this, then that's what you've earned access to, and he doesn't mind you flipping this stuff. And there's certainly opportunity out there. I recorded a video the other day as we're recording this. The Super Stickers Spectacular is being released. So I was allocated 9 boxes. I paid $700 for the 9 boxes. I immediately put it up on eBay for the double the price. I immediately sold one. They don't ship till February, so I'm making sure that I don't break any rules putting them on eBay with 4 month shipping. It's hard to do on eBay, but they will sell. I'm very confident in that. And so it's the gift that keeps on giving here. And the owner themselves they don't care. I don't know. I like this opportunity. It's not free though, right? This NFT is whatever, $5,000 at this time. They're the lowest one.
Yeah. So you got to make a bit of a commitment there for sure to play in the space. But obviously, of all of the, I think, ideas on here, maybe not the whiskey one, but I'd put this on that, around that sort of level. I mean, there's not really any ick factor here, right? I mean, this is, once again, this is purely just a market play. Like, yeah, it's wild that a box of cards sells for $8,000 and there's only 8 packs in there and all of that sort of, for sure. But it is what it is. These are not products that anybody needs in their life. You don't need these products to survive. Like, you're not profiting off somebody else's misery here or anything like that. Like, there's no real moral question here. So I think you can take that out. But like, I mean, if somebody wants to spend $8,000 on a box of 8 packs of cards, fine. That doesn't harm them in any way. I mean, if they're making the choice to spend that money and they don't actually have it, well, that's the same for selling any product, right? You could say that about selling a high-end couch. Somebody wants it, they don't have the money, they buy it, they go into debt to buy it, and then they can't pay. Like, that's their problem. Like, we don't have a problem with that generally, and so why would you have a problem with this? And I wouldn't even really care if the creator had a problem with it either. Like, because once again, I would just go back to, maybe the creator should raise their prices if they had a problem with it, because people are obviously prepared to pay that price. Maybe they should be making themselves more money. Gary Vee's obviously not worried about that, but in this particular circumstance, people might say that about like art. Like, I bought a piece of art. It's a one-off piece. I bought it for $500 from the artist. Now I'm going to go and sell it for $2,000 to somebody else, and somebody might say, well, but you're making more money than the artist. And it's kind of like, well, maybe the artist is just undervaluing themselves, obviously, and they really need to be selling their shit for $2,000. It's not your problem as the person who's creating the arbitrage. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I like this idea for sure. The opportunity's there.
And he's making that NFT money on the back end, right? He's taking a small cut every time that you make a sale. Certainly, it's just code, right? So there are some marketplaces that go around this. The OpenSea is one that does pay the creator, and so... but he's trying to build something long term. So if you got to believe in the mission here to at least like think it's going to grow. Like, you're not going to lose. Seeing that gift code go from 16 to 12 is not fun to see, right? I'm sure somebody who overextended for that, and even though they made 8, they lost 4. You still netted 4 if you sold the box, right? But you have to believe in the long term vision here to assume these are going to go up alongside of you, or at least hold their value alongside of you, and that's not a given, right? Gary Vee could be hit by a bus tomorrow, and then what happens to this whole project?
Yeah, bring on the NFT haters. I'm sure there's going to be some in the comments here.
Look, I'm probably mostly an NFT hater too. I think there's only a few left that are actually trying to do cool things. I think they have a lot of use cases. Maybe we could do a whole episode on that. I'd probably want to bring in someone smarter than me, but man, I remember hearing some people at a mastermind I was at that had some really crazy ideas of like how to use the NFTs to fund, grabbing carbon out of the atmosphere and turning that carbon into diamonds, and then selling the diamonds and rewarding the NFT holders who like funded the whole thing. That's bananas, man. Like bananas. Sorry. They call that a throwback, kids. I'm studying comedy. Anyway, I think there's a lot of opportunity out there. If you're watching this and you're doing something like this, first off, tell us. We want to talk to you. And then what else is there? What are we missing? What are some more obvious arbitrage opportunities? Drop them in the comments. Send us a message. Whatever you need to do. I want to hear what people are flipping out there.